almost 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. I'd been feeling a nagging pain in my right side, and had really taken a couple years before I even got care because I had been expecting a child and then nursing a child and just didn't follow through. When I did finally go to the doctor, it took about 2 more years and lots of different tests and therapies and that kind of thing, with no results, until we did a CAT scan that showed that there was something there in my lungs, which we thought maybe was an old infection. And even then it was pretty unhurried because I had no risk factors for any type of cancer, let alone lung cancer. When we finally went in, we did a PET scan, and that showed hot spots. And a doctor who was still fairly optimistic that there wasn't much to it said, you can do it this more conservative route, or you can have the full surgical biopsy to be sure of what it is. And I said, I want to know what this is. It's been long enough. And he found in his biopsy that I did in fact have lung cancer, to everyone's surprise. So since then, I have gone through a number of therapies. When my tumor started to grow again, they found that I was ALK positive, which is a completely different marker, which I had seen on TV, news stories, that this was kind of an up-and-coming, there's an up-and-coming drug to target this mutation that they had found. And I asked my doctor about it, who is very supportive of all the molecular testing and new therapies and clinical trials. And he said, yeah, we want to get you tested for it. And that concluded that I was ALK positive. So I felt this relief that I had another option, because I knew that my therapies were going to be in the form of drug therapy after drug therapy after drug therapy, since I couldn't have surgery and I couldn't have radiation. That was kind of the course I'd have to take, and hope that each one worked for a period of time. And I wasn't sure how many of those options I had. So it was a relief when I was ALK positive. So I started on a clinical trial. And the drug is commercially available now, so I'm back with my normal oncologist on a drug called crizotinib, and I have been on that over 2 years. So I've been kind of streaming together these, what are more targeted, personalized therapies, and because of that, able to live a very normal life. The standard of care treatment that I received first was very difficult, and in the scheme of things, could have been much worse. I don't know how people did it 20 years ago. I had a lot of bone pain. I had a lot of exhaustion, the bad taste in your mouth. I couldn't pick up my children. That was my younger daughter's issue, was mommy, pick me up, because at the time she was 2 years old. So I would sit down and put her in my lap. And she really noticed when I finished my traditional chemo, that moment where, Mommy, you can pick me up again. That for her was a defining moment. And she doesn't remember much of it now, but for me, that really stood out. And it was very difficult, and it impacted my life. And I would miss work. I've worked full-time throughout. I would miss about 1/3 of my work. About 1 week of every 3 I was missing. And it took a long time to kind of come back and regain my strength. With the newer therapies I have been on, these more personalized, targeted therapies, the only work I really miss have to do with appointments, scans, the mechanics of keeping up with my therapy. I live a normal daily life. People don't know I'm sick. People probably wonder if I'm sick. And so I've been very fortunate that I can do all the things my kids need me to do and work full time and stay active. One of the things that I think is important is for diagnostics, drugs, instruments, anything, to be able to get through the FDA process without more work than is necessary. I was very lucky that crizotinib was a drug that moved fairly quickly, at least in comparison to other drugs, through that process and got to market, and is benefiting many people. So I'd like to see that process be managed in such a way that these kinds of tools to affect these diseases can make it through and help patients. The other thing that's very important to me is that medical providers have the information, that they know about molecular testing, that they offer it to their patients, that they encourage it, that they know what their options are in terms of treatments or diagnostics or any part of the care as it's necessary, and use them for their patients instead of just only traditional routes. Of course, the selfish part of me hopes that drugs like this continue to be researched and produced and approved by the FDA that hit these markers, that then improve upon that, because even though I'm on a drug that targets a marker that I have, it's eventually I'm gonna become resistant to it. So even with that finding that key, it's not going to work forever. So knowing that they will continue to improve upon what they do know, as well as come up with new markers and new things that hit targets for people, and make survivability much more of an option, especially now that things are becoming more manageable as a disease, versus, like I said, that idea of you either get better and you put it behind you, or you get worse and you die. So lung cancer is never going to be behind me, but I'm grateful that I can live with it.